Okay, so we'll start lying down. So make your way onto your back. And a few options here. So either, if it feels comfortable for you, you can come into Baddha Konasana. So coming into that, starting with knees bent, soles of the feet on the mat, and then drawing the knees out to the side. So you're resting on the outer edge of each foot, and the soles of the feet are pressing gently together. If that doesn't feel right for you, and you can work with this, particularly if you're watching on recorded, you could pause and take some time to take some support underneath the sides or the knees, build up some blankets or cushions, for example. But if Baddha Konasana doesn't feel right for you, another option would be to have the legs out long on the mat and have something like a rolled up blanket underneath the knees. So you want it to be something that's haven't got a blanket handy to quickly roll up, but like imagine if this were a rolled up blanket, and a bolster or something like that could work as well, but it doesn't need to necessarily be as high as this. And then you take that underneath the knees so that you're just supporting the hips in finding a little bit of external rotation. If neither of those are good options for you, no problem. Come to any other comfortable position on your back. So you might have knees bent and soles of the feet on the mat, for example. Take your time to settle. And once the body is settled, bring your attention to your breath. Observing the breath in its natural rhythm as it comes in, as it goes out. Anytime you notice the mind distracted away from the breath, use that noticing to encourage the mind to let go of those distractions for now. Even if you need to return to them later, let them go for now. Bring the mind's attention back to the breath. If you want to set an intention for your practice today, take a moment to do that now. As you next inhale, bring your attention to the front body, noticing the natural rise of the front body, the belly, the chest on each inhale. And noticing now on each exhale, the natural softening of the chest and the belly back down towards the back body. And noticing with each inhale and each exhale, the natural rise and fall of the front body. Either continue to observe the breath in this way, and if doing that and you haven't already, you could explore lengthening the inhale and the exhale a little here, taking a bit more time over each breath. Or if it feels okay for you, you could On your next inhale, have a sense of the inhale starting from the center of the chest and expanding out towards the armpits. So there's a feeling of expansion across the whole of the chest, the whole of the front body. And then as you exhale, draw navel in towards spine. So continue in this way. There's a feeling on each exhale of the breath coming from the belly, as if it's the drawing of navel towards spine that is expelling the air. So a focus on navel towards spine, a focus on the belly on the exhale, and on the inhale, focusing on a feeling of expansion and spaciousness across the chest, across the front of the heart space. Again, if it feels comfortable too, if you haven't already, you can lengthen the inhale and the exhale here. Keep the breath feeling easeful. So if you start to feel like you're introducing tension into the body with the length of the breath or gasping for the next breath, then ease off. Continue for a few more rounds in this way. Now letting go of any sense of control over the breath. So letting go of control over the breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm. Stay with the breath, continue to observe the breath as it makes that transition. If you're in Baddha Konasana, then use an inhale to draw the knees back together and bring soles of the feet back to the mat. If you've got legs out long, then bend the knees now and bring soles of the feet to the mat. So you now have knees bent and soles of the feet on the mat. Take the feet out a little wider so they're more like shoulder width apart, and take some windscreen wiper movements with the legs. So easing the knees over towards one side, back to center, over towards the other side, back to center. Continue in this way. Okay, and then come back to center. Take your time to make your way back up, or make your way up to sitting. So you might want to roll to one side. You can pause there for a few breaths if that feels good, and then push yourself up and come up in whatever way feels right for you. If it feels okay to be in Sukhasana, then come into Sukhasana. More importantly, be in a seated position that feels comfortable for the body and feels sustainable, and where there is stability. So there's a feeling of even weightedness coming down through the sit bones, and also there's a feeling of stability and containment around the legs and the feet. So if you're taking a seated position on the ground, then it will tend to be the case that the more stable poses tend to have the legs more in towards you, as opposed to a seated position where you've got the legs out long, for example. So with legs out long, you haven't got so much kind of concentrated weight coming down into the legs in a smaller space where you can find that stability. The muscles are needing to work harder to keep the legs in place where you've got the legs out long, and you're more likely to place stress on the lower back. So if you can, be in a seated position where the legs are kind of more within towards you in some way. So Sukhasana if possible. You could sit on heels if that feels better. You could sit on a chair. Take a few rounds of breath to settle into your seated pose, inhaling from the base of the spine all the way up the spine into the chest. Exhaling, tops of the shoulders softening down. Feel that softening come all the way down through to the sit bones. Continue to follow the breath in this way. At the top of each inhale, as there's a feeling of the inhale arriving into the chest, see if you can have a sense of the chest drawing up away from the pelvis, away from the top of the pubic bone. So it's not that as the breath arrives into the chest, you kind of consciously, in a physical way, kind of make the chest go up, but more that there's a more kind of inner sense and energetic sense of, as the breath arrives into the chest, it's through that there's a feeling of the chest drawing up, lengthening up away from the top of the pubic bone. So that in doing so, you're finding a sense of greater length in the front body. On your next inhale, sweep the right arm out to the side and up, reach up with the fingertips. As you exhale, bend the right elbow, bring the right hand to rest on the left side of the head. So it depends on different body proportions, but probably the fingers are coming to rest on the right fingers are coming to rest on the left ear, roughly. If this doesn't feel great for the shoulder, you can release the arm down and take the rest of this work without using the hand on the arm. On your next exhale, start to ease the right ear towards the right shoulder. At the same time, the right shoulder and the left shoulder are softening down away from the ear. So shoulders are softening down as the right ear eases towards the right shoulder. So the right hand is there not to force or, like push anything down, but just as a presence, a gentle presence and pressure in a way that feels helpful to explore easing the ear towards the shoulder. Bring your focus to the left side of the neck. So we're looking to find a bit more openness and releasing the left side of the neck. If this isn't feeling comfortable on the neck, you might want to just have a bit of a play around with the tilt of the chin. It might be that taking the chin slightly further forwards or back brings you to the place where you feel like you've got some welcome openness in that side of the neck. If it's still not feeling good, then ease up a little, don't go over so far. Keep your focus on the left side of the neck. Last few breaths here, imagine you're inhaling into the left side of the neck, and as you exhale, imagine you're exhaling out, holding and tension. Inhale back to center, sweep the right arm up, turn the right palm to face outwards, exhale, sweep the arm out to the side and down. Have a roll of the shoulders one way and the other way. Great, come back to center. Take a few rounds of breath as we did before, inhaling up the spine into the chest, feeling that lift in the chest, exhaling, tops of the shoulders softening down away from the ears, and let that softening come all the way down through to the sit bone. On your next inhale, sweep the left arm up, and then exhale, bend the left elbow, bring the left hand to rest on the right side of the head. As you next exhale, ease the left ear towards the left shoulder. So as you do that, both shoulders are softening down away from the ear. So it's not that you're trying to get the ear to touch or get anywhere near the shoulder, but that the ear is easing in the direction of the left shoulder as the left shoulder softens down away from the ear, and the right shoulder is also softening down. Again, if you want to have a play around with changing the tilt of the chin a little so that it feels a welcome kind of openness on the right side of the neck, and do that. And then inhaling into the right side of the neck, exhaling out, having a sense of softening and releasing on each exhale. Great. Inhale back to center, sweep the left arm up, turn the palm to face outwards. Exhale, sweep the arm out to the side and down. Again, have a roll of the shoulders. One way and the other way. And then make your way to all fours. So we're coming to all fours to take some cat-cows. If you know that what feels right for you today is to take your cat-cows from seated, then feel free to stay seated. If you're doing that and you're working in Sukhasana, then I would invite you to change the cross of your legs at this point. So take your time, no rush. Just know that in your own time, when you're ready, you're easing into your cat-cows at your own pace, focusing on matching movement to breath. So throughout your cat-cows, you're actively pressing the hands into the mat. On your inhales, the hands are then supporting you as you draw the shoulders back. And in drawing the shoulders back, you create space for the chest to draw forward. So it's like the chest is kind of drawing through the gate, like it's like the shoulders are kind of gateposts, if you like, that the chest is drawing through. So on each inhale, as you take that drawing forwards of the chest, think about when we were seated and we were focusing on the feeling of the chest lengthening up away from the top of the pelvis. Same kind of thing here. The chest is lengthening away from the pelvis. So you're finding more length in the front body on each inhale. On the exhales, you're actively pressing the hands into the mat and using that to support you and power the movement of the shoulders, shoulder blades drawing away from each other, which then creates space for the middle of the spine to be able to draw up towards the ceiling. Great. Okay, come back to center. Still in your all fours. Inhale, draw shoulders back, chest forwards, tailbone tipping up, so coming into your cow pose. And then as you exhale, press the hands into the mat, curl the spine up towards the ceiling, coming into your cat pose, and at the same time, use the press of the hands to draw the bum back towards the heels. So increasingly, the tops of the feet press into the mat as you do that as well, if you've got toes untucked. Then as you inhale, start to draw forward. Imagine the hands are trying to drag back towards you, but you won't let them move, so that you've got really good contact there. And then as you draw forwards, there's increasingly a feeling of the shoulders drawing back and the chest drawing forwards and through that gateway of the shoulders until you come fully into your cow pose. So continue in this way, matching movement to breath. So on each exhale, you're curling the spine up towards the ceiling, pressing into the hands, drawing the bum back towards the heels. As you inhale, you're drawing forward. So keep that connection between the hands and the mat as you draw forwards. And then increasingly, as you come forward, there's that feeling of the shoulders drawing back, chest drawing forwards and through the shoulders. So keep using the press of the hands to support you so that that movement with the shoulders, particularly as you draw forward, isn't an isolated movement of the shoulder joint. It's supported by and feeling of it being kind of powered by that press of the hands. Great. Okay, come back to center. Take the hands a little further forwards now. So take them sort of at least a good hand's length forwards. So hands are further forwards than the shoulders now. Hips are still above the knees. Fingers are spread wide. Actively pressing the hands into the mat. So notice with the hands a bit further forward, notice perhaps a bit more scope to be able to feel like you're actively pressing the hands into the mat compared to when they're underneath the shoulders where you know the weight is coming directly down into the hands more then, so they're already quite weighty. So with them a bit further forward, there's a bit more scope to feel like you're really actively pressing the hands into the mat. As you do that, again, if it's okay to have toes untouched, then do. So as you press the hands into the mat, also have an awareness of the tops of the feet pressing into the mat. So maintain that action and now use the press of the hands on an exhale to start to draw the bum back towards the heels. So we're coming into an extended child's pose. Keep pressing into the hands. Use that press of the hands to draw the bum back to the heels. So don't let the hands and the arms relax, you know, once you've got the bum back. Stay active through the hands and the arms. If you need to take some support between bum and heels, then do that. If it feels helpful to take the knees a little bit wider to give a bit more space for the front body, then do that. Either forehead comes to the mat, or you can take some height underneath the forehead to bring the ground up to you. But do have your forehead resting on something here. But stay active through the hands and the arms, so you're not just bringing the weight into the head and the neck. And then from here, you can adjust the positioning of the hands if that feels helpful, like particularly if you feel like the arms are quite relaxed, you're bent at the elbows. See if you can creep the hands further forward. So try as best you can whilst to have the hands shoulder width apart and to keep the arms as straight as you can. So there's a kind of straight line from shoulders to hands. And then as long as it feels okay for the shoulders, change the positioning of the hands so that you come to rest on the outer edge of each hand. So the palms are facing towards each other and it's the outer edge of each hand that is pressing into the mat. So as you do that, have an awareness of the rotation of the upper arms that's happened from you changing the positioning of the hands. A feeling as if the armpits are trying to face in towards each other more. See if you can maintain that rotation out and round of the upper arms as you now bring the palms of the hands back to the mat. So it's kind of like you only really rotate at the wrists now to bring the palms of the hands back to the mat, but keep the rotation of the upper arms that you found through moving the hands. Great, okay, so preparing to draw back up. So again, see if you can have that feeling as if the hands are trying to drag back towards you, but you're not going to let them move. And inhale, draw the bum up away from the heels. Keep drawing forwards until hips are above knees. And if you adjust the position of the knees or the feet in any way so that you're back to that kind of squared off position of hips directly above knees, then do that. Okay, so from here, we'll do a little bit of work with puppy pose. If puppy pose doesn't feel right for you, you could draw back into that expanded child's pose we just worked with and maybe have another little bit of a play with that rotation of the upper arms out and round, or just in staying active with the hands pressing into the mat, thumb drawing back towards the heels. So at any point you could come to that. And if that's not feeling right, you can come back into a full child's pose. So to explore puppy pose, take the hands further forwards now, so further forwards than they've been for your extended child's pose setup. Hips stay above the knees. So throughout puppy pose, hips stay above the knees. Again, see if you can have an awareness of the tops of the feet pressing into the mat, and you can even get a bit more active with that and see if you can have the tops of the toes, like the toenails, pressing into the mat. That can be helpful in keeping the hips in position and preventing them from drawing forwards here. And then from here, start to just very slowly, like just taking small movements, creep the hands forwards. Once you've crept each hand forwards a little bit, then find a renewed sense of pressing the hands into the mat, but without the hips drawing back. Keep creeping the hands forwards in this way until you start to feel like the chest really wants to release down towards the mat. So you'll kind of know when that happens. You don't need to make it happen early. Just wait until the hands have drawn far enough forwards that it really, the chest kind of starts to feel heavy, like it really wants to draw down towards the mat. Keep really actively pressing into the hands, press into the tops of the feet, and let the chest release down towards the mat until the forehead comes to the mat. If the mat feels a long way away from the forehead, then you can bring height underneath the forehead. So make some height for it to come to. Also, if this is feeling intense on the shoulders, like too much on the shoulders, then again, have some height under the forehead. Because as you lower the chest down in between, down towards the mat, you're drawing it in between the shoulders and really opening up the shoulders. Try and really keep the active press of the hands into the mat. So it doesn't feel here like there's lots of weight coming into the forehead or into the neck. The sense here is much more about a feeling of the chest releasing down towards the mat and the shoulders opening. And maybe here, see if you can find that same sense of the upper arms rotating out and round that we explored in extended child's pose. Last few breaths here. Inhale into the space in the back body. Exhale a feeling of the front body, particularly the chest, softening, releasing. Great. As long as this feels okay, so make sure that the forehead and the neck feel supported enough now. Draw the hands back towards you until hands are alongside the head, and then press into the hands to draw yourself up to all fours. Great. Okay, so we're going to make our way up to standing. If you want to come up via a downward dog and forward fold, you're very welcome to do that, or come straight up to standing. Just coming up in whatever way feels right for you. Take your time, no rush. Just know that once you're standing, if you can, find some wall space or a door, like, maybe let anyone know that's behind the door not to come in for a few minutes whilst you work with this, but find some kind of wall space that you can come to. If that's really not an option for you, then I would invite you to start by coming back to that extended child's pose we were doing on the mat, and you could work there. I guess the other thing actually you could do, if there's not wall space, is if you've got some kind of upright chair, that could work. Let me just grab a chair so I can show that as an option as well. Yeah, so ideally you're working with a wall, but otherwise, I mean, this is a bit low, this one, but you could work with a chair here. Yeah. So if you're at the wall, then you start by, you're standing straight, kind of like in a mountain pose, basically. So in mountain pose, you're kind of one straight line down, like, the center of gravity is just straight down. So hips are directly above the heels. So you want to keep that as being the case as you now come to the wall and bring your hands against the wall, fingers spread wide, and have the hand at shoulder height. So you're basically an arm's length away from the wall. So if you have any sense of kind of that you're leaning against the wall, like if you were to let go of the wall, you'd kind of fall forwards or anything like that, then adjust. So you want to be like you're freestanding, but you just happen to have the hands against the wall at shoulder height. Great. And then once you've got that, actively press the hands into the wall so that then there's a feeling of the body drawing back a little. So you really feel like the weight is really into the heels now. And once that's happened, just step the feet back a tiny amount so that you're kind of adjusting so that then the hips are directly above the heels again. And then press the hands into the wall. So then the hips draw back a bit more until it feels like the weight is really back in the heels. And then step the feet back just a little more. And keep adjusting in that way. So go really slowly. Don't think about where you're trying to get to here. It's the process that counts. And at some point as you do this, notice when it feels like the hands are just a little bit higher than the shoulders now. So the hands are no longer at shoulder height, they're a bit higher, the shoulders have lowered down a bit. And when you notice that, creep the hands down just a little way so that they're then in line with the shoulders. So again, it'll be small movements. And continue with these kind of micro movements and adjustments. Part of this practice is about working patiently with the body, being present rather than kind of rushing ahead with the ego mind to get to a certain position. And you're continuing with this until, as long as it feels okay for the body, anything up to having the upper body at right angles to the legs. But don't rush to get there. Great. Okay. So if you're working on the mat, not against a wall or a chair, then what you could do now is come up into a downward dog. And then, yeah, actually, no, if you're working on the mat, what would be good now would be to come to a halfway lift. So if you can make your way to a halfway lift, great. And then whether you're at the wall or in a halfway lift, really feel into a sense of the sit bones actively drawing back towards the space behind you. And at the same time, there's a feeling of the chest drawing forward. So feeling that sense, and with the chest drawing forward, the chest is lengthening away from the pelvis. So again, it's that feeling of finding length in the front body. Great. If you're working on the mat, you could make your way from your halfway lift into a downward dog on the mat now. And then whether you're in downward dog or you're at the wall, see if you can now find that rotation of the upper arms out and round as if the armpits are trying to face towards each other. So really keep pressing the hands into the wall. Use that to support you as you explore that rotation of the arms out and round. So what you're looking to really feel here, and this is where working at the wall can be great because you've got less weight coming down into the hands, is that when you do this, the upper back muscles at the side here, so the kind of lateral upper back muscles, just kind of around the shoulder blade area, are active. So it's not just a kind of a rotation of the shoulder joint, it's kind of powered by the activation of those back muscles. So see if you can feel into that in any way. Great. If you're in downward dog, start to walk the hands back towards the feet to come into a forward fold. If you're at the wall, then we'll make our way into a forward fold from there. So to do that, start to just again, very slowly walk the hands further down the wall. Keep really press into the ground with your feet. Keep that feeling of the sit bones drawing back. And you'll come to a point where it feels like you're too far away from the wall, at which point come onto the fingertips. So that gives you a bit more length. Keep walking the fingertips down the wall. Keep that feeling of the sit bones drawing back. And still at the chest drawing forward. So you're keeping that feeling of length in the front body. It might feel helpful to bring a little bit of a bend to the knees. And then you'll come to a point where you can't reach the wall anymore, at which point feel like you can bring the weight back into the heels a bit more so that you can then release the hands and release the chest down. But see if you can keep a feeling of length in the front body. It's like you're lengthening the chest down rather than just kind of letting it go passively. Great. So from your forward fold now, inhale to your halfway lift. So if you've been working at the wall, just notice here that the kind of similarities in feeling here, that feeling of the sit bones drawing back as the chest draws forward. So now you've got the hands aren't pressing against the wall, the hands are pressing gently against the front of the legs, and you're using that to help the shoulders draw back, to create space for the chest to draw forward. So think about that kind of gateway of the shoulders and the chest and drawing through that gateway. So you're finding that length in the front body. Chest is lengthening away from the pelvis. Pelvis is drawing back to in the direction behind you, which you feel through the sit bones drawing back, and the chest is drawing forward towards the space in front of you. So in a moment, we're going to come back down into our forward fold, and when we do that, really try and feel like that is an active action rather than a passive kind of letting go. So you feel like the lengthening of the chest continues here. It's just you're taking it in a different direction. So as you exhale now, feel like you're lengthening the chest forwards and down. And increasingly, as the chest starts to come down, there's a feeling not so much of the sit bones drawing back, but more of the hips drawing up towards the ceiling, or maybe a bit of both, but stay active through the sit bones and hips. So they're drawing in one direction as the chest draws down in the other direction. And then once you've kind of found all the length that you can, then you can let the shoulders go, let the head go, let the neck go. Great. Bring your hands onto your hips. Keep pressing into the feet, maybe a slight bend in the knees if you haven't already. Inhale, draw the chest forwards and all the way up. So again, you're finding that length as you come all the way up. And then release the hands. Have a bit of a shake out if you want to. Come to step to the top of the mat if you're not there already. Be in your mountain pose. Either closing your eyes or softening your gaze. Observe the breath. Observe the body. If you set an intention at the start of your practice, take a moment to recall that now. Bring palms of the hands together in front of the heart, so thumbs are resting against the center of the chest. As you next inhale, imagine that you're inhaling from the base of the spine all the way up the spine into the chest. Exhale, tops of the shoulders softening down. Feel that softening travel all the way down the body through to the soles of the feet. Follow the breath in this way for a few rounds. So at the top of the inhale, just as we explored when we were seated earlier, there's a feeling of the breath arriving into the chest and the chest drawing up away from the top of the pubic bone. So here you could have a sense perhaps of as if the chest is trying to draw up to meet the thumbs a little more closely. Keep the tailbone lengthening down as you focus on that, so that you're not kind of pushing into the lower back to kind of force that lift of the chest. So tailbone is still lengthening down and keeping length in the lower spine. Okay, on your next inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, try and find that lengthening of the chest forwards and down as we did when we were coming into the forward fold earlier. Inhale to your halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Plant the hands in front of, slightly wider than the feet, so bend the knees as you need to for that. And then bring the weight forwards into the hands more. Press the hands into the mat. See if that allows you to bring a bit more lift to the hips. Take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, draw the right foot back, draw the back knee down. So you come into a low lunge. We're not taking long in the low lunge. Come up onto fingertips. Make any adjustments you need to so that you feel safe in your low lunge. But just pause here for a moment. Press the fingertips into the mat and see if you can find that sense of the chest lengthening up away from the pelvis. So again, finding that length in the front body. Great. Bring palms of the hands back to the mat. So hands are directly underneath the shoulders. Press the hands into the mat. Tuck the back toes under. So just to pause a moment here, we're going to come into a downward dog. So I'll talk through drawing straight back into a downward dog. If what feels right for your practice is to take the left foot out to the side and round and come to an all fours, then go ahead and do that now. Otherwise, you're pressing the hands into the mat, back toes are tucked, inhale the back knee up, and then exhale, draw the hips up and back, press into the hands, and then draw the front foot back, so you're coming to a downward dog. Take a few breaths in your downward dog, or in extended child's pose if that feels best for you. And either way, try and really be active with the hands pressing into the mat. That feel into that relationship between the hands pressing into the mat and the hips drawing back. And invitation again to explore that rotation of the upper arms out and round if that feels okay. Great, so preparing to step through now. So we'll be stepping through with the right foot. So either be in downward dog or in all fours, whichever is right for you. Take an inhale to prepare, and then exhale, draw the right foot forward. If you've come from downward dog, then draw the back knee down. And then when you're ready, come up onto fingertips in your low lunge. Feeling into that sense of the chest lengthening away from the pubic bone. Bring palms of the hands back to the mat. Press the hands into the mat, tuck the back toes. Inhale the back knee up. Exhale, step the back foot forward. As many steps as you need to come to your forward fold. Inhale to your halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, draw the chest forwards all the way up. So finding that length in the front body. You can sweep the arms up if you want to. And then exhale, bring palms of the hands together in front of the heart. Release the arms alongside you. And then make your way to a wide stance on the mat. So come widthways on the mat. Take the feet wide. So as wide as feels comfortable here, longer than a leg's length apart if you can. Imagine that you're setting up for warrior two. We're not doing warrior two, but it's that kind of width, wider than you would for something like triangle pose. Outer edges of the feet are parallel with the short edges of the mat. So that might feel like the big toes are slightly turned in as you do that. Have your hands on your hips, tailbone lengthening down, navel towards spine. Bring your focus to your feet. So spend a moment now really working with the feet. Notice where the weight is coming down into the feet, where it's not so much, and get more active in each foot. So you're pressing into the areas where it feels like there's less weight coming into them. So overall then there's a feeling of the feet being more active, as if they're trying to push the mat away from you. And in doing so, the legs are more active. So really active through the feet. With the hands on the hips, see if there's scope for the shoulders to draw back and down. And in doing so, that feeling of the chest lifting. So remember when we were stood in mountain pose and had palms of the hands together, when we were seated, that feeling of the chest lifting and lengthening away from the top of the pubic bone. Again, keep that feeling of the tailbone lengthening down. So all this length in the front body, we want to try and maintain when in a moment we draw forward. One thing I probably should have mentioned to you before you set up is if you have some height, like bricks or anything that you're using in place of bricks, then it would be good to have those in front of you now. A chair also works. I mean, if you've got bricks, great, because they're really versatile. You can play around with different heights, but a sort of lowish chair could work as well. So sorry if that means you have to come out of position and back in. But yeah, if you've got a couple of bricks, perfect. But and if you haven't got any of that, no worries. Okay, so once you're set up, shoulders are drawing back, chest is drawing up, you're going to try and keep this feeling of length in the front body. Keep pressing into the feet, and as you exhale, start to draw the chest forwards and down. So remember when we were coming into our normal standing forward fold. So as you start to draw the chest forwards and down, increasingly there's a feeling of the sit bones drawing back towards the space behind you. Keep pressing down through all parts of the feet. So come until you're kind of in that halfway lift sort of position and pause there. So you can really feel into a sense of the chest lengthening forward as the sit bones draw back. And now explore, so think about when we came into our standing forward fold earlier, we want to try and find the same thing here. So there's a feeling now of the chest lengthening forwards and down, lengthening forwards and down. Keep pressing into the feet. So increasingly, as the chest comes further down, there's a feeling of the hips drawing up towards the ceiling. And then when you've kind of found as much length as you're going to find, it'll be really different for different people, different bodies, then slide the hands down the legs. If you're not working, if you haven't got bricks or any height, then you can keep the hands pressing against the outside of the legs. Or if you've got height that you can work with, then bring the hands into place, kind of underneath where the head is. You can let the head and the neck release now, let the shoulders be soft, and bring the hands onto the bricks. So, as I said, but like ideally you've got 2 bricks here, and you can work with the different height settings here. So what you want here is to be able to bring your hands onto something that you can where you can really then press the hands. So whether that's into the ground or into the bricks. Even if your hands reach the ground, I would really recommend having a play with bringing some height under the hands, just to see if that gives you even more scope to really strongly press the hands into the bricks. And see if you can feel like that press of the hands into the bricks, as well as the press of the feet, is powering that move of the hips drawing up towards the ceiling. Notice where the weight is coming into the feet. If the weight is really back in the heels, then maybe that's the kind of body saying, oh, I'm scared I'm going to fall forward, in which case, remind yourself you're not. See if you can bring the weight forwards into the balls of the feet a bit more. If the weight is more in the balls of the feet, then it might be that the ego mind is trying to get you lower down than is right for your body. So if that's happening, then explore coming up a bit higher. You know, think of it as, you know, that the idea is to really stay active through the feet and the legs, and to find length in the front body that doesn't That doesn't need to mean, you know, coming down low. Great. Keep the left hand where it is and bring the right hand onto the right hip. So left hand is pressing into the brick or whatever it's pressing into. If you can, just move the left hand slightly over to the right so it's more in the center now. And then on an inhale, lengthen forwards with the chest. So it's like you're kind of coming back up to that halfway lift. And then as you exhale, draw belly and chest round towards the right. So use the press of the left hand to feel like that's kind of powering a revolving action of the chest round towards the right. Maybe the right hand, heel of the right hand comes more round towards the sacrum if that feels helpful. See if the right shoulder can draw back a little more. It's the press of the left hand that's really powering that revolving action of the chest down to the right. Great. Exhale back to center. Bring the right hand back down. And then keep the right hand in place, bring the left hand onto the left hip. Maybe move the right hand over towards the left a little if that feels okay. And then take a moment to inhale, lengthen the chest forward. So don't be in a hurry to come round. First of all, lengthen the chest forward and then press the right hand into the brick or wherever it is and revolve belly and chest round towards the left. See if the left shoulder can draw back, maybe the left hand draws further round towards the back. And the focus is on that press of the right hand. It's from that you're finding that revolving action of the chest round to the side. Exhale back to center. So bring both hands back down. And then letting go of the bricks now, walk the hands forward. So you might need to be on fingertips to start with, but walk the hands forward until you can bring the palms of the hands to the ground in front of you. So wherever you need to take them to, so that palms of the hands can press into the ground. So probably you'll feel like you're more onto the balls of the feet now, but the heels are still drawing down into the ground. You haven't kind of lost that, but it's like you're in a really short downward dog, short and wide downward dog. Actively press the hands into the ground. Feel the relationship between that and the hips drawing back away from the wrist. So that same kind of feeling that you're getting downward dog. Maybe one more time you can explore that rotation of the upper arms out and round, if that feels good. So keep the weight into the hand, keep pressing into the hands so that you can then comfortably bring a bend to the knees. Once you've got the bend to the knees, then start to walk the hands back towards you until the weight comes fully back into the feet. Bring the hands onto the hips. Inhale, draw the chest forwards and all the way up. And heel toe the feet back together. Great. Make your way down onto the mat. If you want to take a flow to get down there, feel free to. So we're making our way towards Shavasana. You might want to grab any extra layers or anything else you want for your Shavasana first. Once you're down on the mat, so no rush, but once you're there, hug knees into the chest. With knees hugging into the chest, you could be in stillness or you could take a rock from side to side if that feels good. If you are taking a rock from side to side, then come back to center now. Knees still hugging into the chest. So you can have hands on the knees or on the backs of the thighs, whatever feels most comfortable. As you inhale, see if you can have a sense of expansion across the chest, from the center of the chest out towards the armpits. As you exhale, a feeling of the front body softening and releasing towards the back body, a feeling of the back body softening and releasing into the ground. And let the shoulders be included in that, a feeling of the shoulders really softening down. Draw navel towards spine. And on your next exhale, release the soles of the feet to the mat. Make your way into your Shavasana. So coming to whatever position feels right for the body, so that you can let go of effort, let go of control over the body. Allow the ground to hold you. Bring your attention to your breath. Just observing the breath in its natural rhythm, no control over the breath, just observing. Whenever you notice the mind distracted away from the breath, use that noticing to encourage the mind to let go of those distractions for now, even if you need to come back to them later. Guide the mind's attention back to the breath. Try and be as intimate with the breath as you can. Stay as close to the breath as you can, noticing how it feels, temperature, quality of breath, anything else you notice about each inhale, each exhale. All you need to do right now is be with the breath and know that this space is held for you while you do that. Starting to bring some deeper breaths into your body. Slowly bringing some movement back to your body, maybe wiggling fingers and toes, perhaps rotating wrists and ankles. Taking any movements now, any stretches, sighs, yawns, anything that feels good as you bring your full awareness back to your body. Taking your time to make your way back up to a comfortable seated position, having your eyes closed or your gaze soft as you do that. If you set an intention at the start of your practice, take a moment to recall that now. Bringing palms of the hands together in front of the heart. Taking a moment to be grateful to yourself for making the time for this practice today. And a moment for us to be grateful that we have this practice of yoga available to us. And that we have this means of connection available so we can gather and practice together in this way. If you want to, you could take a moment to think of anything else that you're grateful for right now. Bowing your head towards your fingertips. Namaste. Releasing your hands. Raising your head whenever you're ready. Thank you guys. Lovely to practice with you.